Here's how to start a TTRPG fantasy campaign for free. In this video, I'm going to show you how to start a fantasy campaign using only free tools. There are many different ways to begin a campaign, and we will go over plenty of them in future videos, but everyone has to start someplace, and free is good. You've got to play the game. That's perfectly reasonable, because you can build a campaign using free materials that can last 6 months or more. The first step is to start in a city and learn the ropes of being an adventurer. Cities offer plenty of opportunities: employment, intrigue, rivalries, mysteries, and danger. The first place is to start building a city. My first recommendation is a website called Fantasy Town Generator. The link will be in the description. One recommendation is to begin with the largest city size. That brings in the widest possible range of encounters and opportunities. For this setup, I'm using a coastal city located along a river. This matters because ships arriving by sea carry news, merchants, travelers, and rumors from far beyond the local region. I am also using a European Middle Ages setting, though with the second option. Whether your gods are Celtic or Norse does not matter very much, and you can mix the two. Once you generate the town, you need to wait a few minutes because the map can be very large. One advantage of a large city is that it naturally includes merchants, guilds, and even criminal organizations such as the Assassin's Guild. However, there will be gaps in what the application provides, and that is where we begin to edit the city manually to create a feel of a campaign that feels right for us. Remember, this is a starting point for development, not yet a campaign. You should ask yourself, is there a great evil force dominating the world? Authors such as Tolkien and C.S. Lewis used this structure. It is often present in Pradden by Lord Alexander. However, many fantasy settings do not. Ursula K. Le Guin avoids this approach, as does Katherine Kurtz in the Derrida novels. This decision matters because it affects nearly every choice you make afterwards. The second big question is, who runs the city? One problem with generators is that they very rarely give satisfying political answers. The solution is to edit buildings and factions so they fit into your world. Let's make a town called Felmerine Summit. Felmerine Summit has a population of 25,000 people, making it a very large late medieval city. The Lord is a junior member of the royal household who has had little luck with noble inheritance. His fortunes changed after a coup placed a king from his branch of the royal family on the throne. Due to his support during the coup and success in several minor skirmishes, he was granted authority over the island. However, the Lord is neither especially intelligent nor wise. Much of the re-administration falls to an elf named Fenimiel Rittenfell. Secretly, Fenimiel is the leading conspirators in an attempt to overthrow the king. Long ago, the island served as a refuge for elves who worshipped at a sacred spring on the island. Over time, some elves aligned themselves with darker powers and gradually inserted themselves into human society to gain influence. Opposing the mayor in the city's day-to-day affairs is the warden, Lucan von Drakenkow, who once held authority before even the coup. Now it is time to go and edit the city, specific building by specific building. The idea is to edit specific buildings to support the story. Warehouses are especially useful, particularly near the center of the city, because they can easily be transformed into faction headquarters. For example, you can convert buildings into a guild meeting hall, a townhouse for the mayor, the warden's station and jail, and noble residences. By clicking on buildings, you can replace mundane storage rooms with offices, meeting halls, barracks, or secret chambers to better support your campaign. At the top is a Factions tab, and this is where the city begins to come alive. For this campaign, we will create the Mayor's faction, secretly evil and trying to undermine the established order. the Roundheads, the Warden's loyal faction, the Guild faction, merchants and guild leaders trying to preserve stability, and the Cavaliers, retainers loyal to the Lord. This creates tension. The factions compete against one another, with some openly hostile while others work through politics and manipulation. Already, there is an Assassin's Guild working to work for anyone who could pay, and a mercenary company loyal primarily to money, though often aligned with the Warden or guilds. At any session, the Games Master can ask, what does one faction want to do to gain an advantage over another? Perhaps the mayor poisons supplies at a brewery. If the characters oppose the mayor, how do they stop the plot? If they support her, how do they hide the evidence? But the city is only part of the story. Beyond the walls lies a larger world. Now it is time to explore the countryside. So start up by opening up https://inkwellideas.com/roleplaying-tools/hexlands. Click on New Map. For example, below are the sea percentages. Is it like England? Is it on the continent? You must also decide what kind of forest is present, deciduous, conifer, or tropical. You can try several maps. If one is close, you can hit Change Terrain and replace one hex. But we are still not done. Click on the left side under Generate Coats. This will make it much more realistic. The first feature you should add is the town you just generated in connection with the correct location. Then you can add other features, especially ones which are important or which will be close by and ripe for adventure. Part of this should be to add older features left behind by lost civilizations. After all, the lamppost in the first book, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe of the Narnia series was such an object. It means that there is history that has yet to be examined and explained. Add rivers and lakes to your map. Water matters. In wilderness campaigns, resources can become important survival mechanics. Some of the waters may be poisoned. The trick is to have the website design the broad layout, and you design the campaign with significant features. One of the great pleasures of being a games master is building a world in the same spirit as Ursula K. Le Guin built Earthsea. Will your world contain a singular evil force bent on destruction, like Sauron in The Lord of the Rings or Arwen in Pryden? Or will your world be more complicated, filled with competing ambitions like the Derry Knight settings? Both styles will work. A singular villain creates pressure on the players, even if they do not understand the threat at first. A world without great evil gives the players a greater freedom to choose their own path between law and chaos, good and evil. When you draw a map, the themes of your world begin. In a world dominated by a great evil, kingdoms, castles, and cities may gradually align with the villain's ambitions. Thus, Isengard gradually slips into the position of being a vassal state of Mordor. But villains need plans. As the games master, part of your job is to determine what does the villain want, what are the steps required to achieve it, and how can the players interfere. More importantly, the plan must unfold slowly enough so the characters have a chance to react. For example, Sauron needed to rebuild physical form, occupy Mordor, negotiate with other evil powers such as the Balrogs, recover their One Ring, and conquer Middle-earth one step at a time. By contrast, in worlds without a single villain, danger exists everywhere but is not centralized. So what kind of campaign are you running? Another important decision is the style of the campaign. Are you running a dungeon delving campaign, a political intrigue campaign, a hex-crawling exploration campaign? Each style changes how the world works. In a hex-crawl campaign, Players may know the routes to nearby settlements, but the surrounding wilderness remains unexplored. Players must venture into unknown territory to discover terrain, ruins, monsters, and resources. Add rivers and lakes to your map. Water matters. In wilderness campaigns, resources can become important as survival mechanics. Some may be poisoned. You should also think about latitude, wind patterns, and currents. If ships travel throughout your world, weather and geography can shape an adventure. Periods of calm seas might strand vessels in dangerous waters where sea monsters lurk. Faction-based campaigns can also involve expeditions into underground ruins to recover artifacts for political advantage. This is one of the oldest websites on the list, and it remains one of the most underutilized collections of tools available. The first thing is, under the Fantasy section, look for the Fantasy Calendar Generator. A ticking clock gives the players urgency and agency. Perhaps an evil ritual happens in 10 days. Perhaps the mayoral election changes the balance of power. Time creates tension. Another useful tool is the Medieval Dungeon Generator. Need to know whether a town has a baker? Need to know how many blacksmiths are present? How many guards can realistically be hired? The generator answers those questions. Now look at the 5-room dungeon generator. Cities often hide secrets beneath them. Temples, guild halls, noble estates, and forgotten ruins may have an underground area. The Temple of Anubis, for example, might conceal ritual chambers beneath it. Generate a small dungeon and connect it to locations on your city map. Suddenly, the city itself becomes an adventure. Now look to the full dungeon generator. For larger adventures farther from civilization, use the full dungeon generator. These become like the ruins, fortresses, and underground strongholds discovered during travel. Populate them with monsters, mysteries, treasures, and factions. Need ideas? The Adventure Generator offers prompts and objectives for characters. Look to the left for the Weather Generator. This is particularly useful for hex-crawling campaigns, where traveler conditions shape survival and decision-making. Now that the pieces exist, you may need a one-page summary of the campaign. This should include the city, who's in charge, the important factions, the calendar, key world details, what characters are expected to do. Provide them with at least one contact who can direct them towards adventures, especially if they are new to role-playing games. Finally, remember what you set out to create. Is this a campaign combat-heavy, an intrigue campaign, a mystery or investigation campaign? The style of play should remain in your mind as you design adventures. And that is how you build the campaign, from a foundation of fantasy using free tools. Not everything is how it appears to be.